Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Soren Review. Today, we're going to be talking about my race review for Phoenix. We're going to be discussing, what happened in the two races, the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. I want to talk about not only just the race. I'm going to briefly go over each race, go over cautions, who ran up front for each one. But I want to talk about an issue that it happened. It was very apparent this weekend, and I feel I need to address it. So let's get started. For the Xfinity Series, Austin Cindric was the winner in the bright pink car shop car. Let me just say it was kind of a caution-filled race. There was, I think, 11 total cautions. Yeah, there was 11 cautions for 65 of 200 laps. So that's almost a fourth of the race under caution. But Austin Cindric won, Ty Gibbs second, Brandon Brown third. Though I will say the top 10 it isn't really showing who was the top competitors. Top competitors were Austin Cindric, Justin Allgaier, Daniel Hemrick, Justin Haley. They had the fastest cars. Harrison Burton, Brandon Jones. They had the fastest cars. I told you Toyota was going to be fast. I told you Allgaier was going to be fast. Cindric 1 year last year. So it was kind of obvious who was the fastest cars. However, we'll talk about what happened at the end and how all that got shooken up. Caution-wise, we had some spins, like Dexter Bean spun out. Let me see here. We had a debris caution. We had a Tommy Joe Martin's caution where he scraped the wall. We'll talk about that. Harrison Burton spun out. Moffitt spun out. Josh Berry and Santino Ferrucci got into it. I'll talk about that in a minute. AJ Allmendinger and Brandon Jones got into it. I'll tell you about that. Alex Abate spun out. So let's go to the final lap, and then I'll talk about the incidents that happened during the race. On the final lap, there was a restart, and what ended up happening was Jeb Burton, who was restarting like fifth or whatever, went to the bottom and kind of came up the track and took out Daniel Hemrick and Justin Haley from like second and third. Austin Cindric was still the leader, and then out of two, Justin Allgaier hits the wall as well. Everyone's wrecking, no caution. Austin Cindric goes around one more time. Ty Gibbs almost got to him, but it was Austin Cindric who won. And I'm gonna. I guess this ties into the Tommy Joe Martin's caution. And I'll talk about that in a minute because I feel that's the most important thing. But the Josh Berry incident with Santino Ferrucci. Josh Berry was running his line, and Santino Ferrucci got into him, kind of moved him up into the wall, and then Blaine Perkins had nowhere to go and kind of ran into Josh Berry. That ended Josh Berry's day, who was having a great day. He was running top 5, top 10 all day till that moment, and Josh Berry flipped Santino Ferrucci off, right? Very short track like, right? Josh Berry comes from late models. You'd expect something like that. So that happened. And then AJ Allmendinger also came up, took out Brandon Jones in a separate incident. So there was that too. Before we get into the caution incident, which I want to talk about, Noah Graxson had a blown engine. I think Michael Annett did too. They didn't really talk about that. Ryan Sieg had problems too. Noah Graxson and Ryan Sieg are the only two drivers or cars that made the playoffs last year that aren't even in the top 12. They aren't even close. Because Brandon Brown and Jeremy Clements are taking up that spot. Michael Annett's not in the top 12 either. So if we were to put those three drivers, let's say we put Annett and Graxson into the spots of Brandon Brown, Jeremy Clements, Ryan Sieg wouldn't make it. It's going to be very cramped at the end of the season. But I thought I'd mention that. But I want to talk about cautions. NASCAR is garbage with calling cautions. They sucked. They struggled. They called cautions like the Tommy Joe Martin's barely scraped the wall, and they called a caution. But on the last lap, you have people hitting the wall, the Colby Howard's bumper cover was on there was a huge piece of debris. No caution. No caution. It happened in the Cup race, and I'll explain it in a minute. NASCAR was bad with the cautions. They stunk. They were horrible with the cautions. So I'll talk more about it in the Cup race. Cup race. Martin Truex Jr. gets his first win, and it's the first driver with more than 10 wins getting their first win. I had a feeling Truex was gonna win. It seems like he always tends to win when in situations like that. At least on NASCAR Heat, he does for me. But cautions wise, there weren't many cautions. Alex Bowman spun out early. Austin Dillon was involved. Both recovered. I think they both finished in the top 20. Cody Ware supposedly was taken out by Anthony Alfredo because Anthony Alfredo was a lap car. Cody Ware wasn't. Cody Ware went on social media, said it was Alfredo's fault. Kind of wasn't. More Cody Ware's. I don't know. That was a whole situation. Reddick hit the wall. Kyle Busch spun out. Later on, these were all later. Cole Custer at the wall, but no caution. And this is, again, I'll tell you about the caution thing. Top drivers, though. Martin Truex, Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Kevin Harvick. They all ran good. Those are all drivers I expected to run well. They all pretty much fill up the top 10. I mean, it was pretty apparent who was the top cars. I think, to be honest with you, we said last week was going to see who was going to run well this season. I think this week was even more apparent. And I think it really set the foundation for who's going to run well and who isn't. So the racing was fine. Joey Logano led most of the laps. Truex came in at the end. Racing was fine. It was fine. Here's a story that I've seen a lot talked about. But you can probably find it like on Eric Estep's channel. He talks a lot about it. Bubba Wallace had a top 10 run going. Mike Wheeler, his crew chief, decides to keep him out when everyone else pits. He had a top 10 run going. Potentially top 5. Finishes 16th because of that bad call. So definitely something to know. Don't really want to go too much in depth. Not because of, it's just I have other things I want to talk about, and that's the cautions. Cautions were, again, pretty bad. At the end towards the end of the race, there were 14 laps to go. Cole Custer and Bubba Wallace are racing, I think, for like 15th place or something like that. And Cole Custer comes off the corner, and Bubba Wallace is right behind him. And Bubba Wallace looks like he's going to step out, and he kind of moves Custer on the front bumper of his car, puts Custer in the wall. I'm not blaming on Bubba. It was a racing incident. But what I want to say is Custer had debris. There was debris. Austin Dillon hit a piece of debris. Custer was slow on the racetrack. And they had called a caution for Tyler Reddick, who was in a similar situation earlier. So, but no caution. People think it's because Joe Gibbs was leading. I don't think it's that conspiracy, like a conspiracy like that. But I definitely think NASCAR was horrible with the cautions. They didn't call a caution for that, but they call a caution in the Xfinity race for Tommy Joe Martins. They call a caution, for, all this unnecessary stuff that, isn't needed. They call caution for Tyler Reddick, and Tyler Reddick's was justified, right? He had, he was slow on the racetrack. But if we're gonna call caution for Reddick, we gotta call caution for, Custer. So it's infuriating. Definitely infuriating for sure. So that's going to end it here. I like to keep it below the 10-minute mark. Make sure to tune in next week for my race review, on Wednesday for top picks of the week, Friday for my diecast review. Use code Soren72 to get free shipping off all orders, $20 or more when you order from Circle B Diecast. And if you want to follow me on Twitter too, @ReviewSoren, you can do that too. Also, little fun fact, the Cup race was 3 hours exactly. 20 seconds, 3 hours and 20 seconds, but 3 hours basically. So I thought that was pretty cool. Thank you, and goodbye, everyone.